And a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining me for our monthly free live broadcast Conversations with Michael. Before we begin today's live presentation, let's all just take a deep breath as we allow ourselves to feel the energies that are here to be of support of each of us. And noticing the change as well in how we relate to this support. It used to come from outside of us, whether it be from a group of other angelic beings, but now we're feeling the radiance between each other. As we create these sacred circles here, as we gather together in these live presentations, there's a different support system that we've learned to trust, and it comes from within us. And so as we share then the radiance that is circulating between us here, with this global group of fellow masters, awakened human beings, notice that it feels really, really similar to how we used to feel dependent upon those energies not connected to Earth. Very good. And of course, we are streaming live here from our home studio just outside Portland, Oregon. You can watch today's show on our website on the Conversations with Michael page, or you're free to visit our YouTube channel. There's a link to the YouTube presentation at the bottom of the stream on our website. And for those of you that are new to this show or to our teachings, it's been our passion since 1995 to share the teachings of Michael through a variety of heart-based programs and services. I'm joined here as I am and always have been with my best friend, my wife, my partner, Koka Filipovich, and she is here as well today in service to these teachings as she allows Michael's presence to also come through her, allows me to be a little more conscious as I work with the technology while bringing Michael through me as well. Initially, I served as a conscious channel for Archangel Michael and Yeshua. And over the last 10 years, that role started to shift as we moved away from using the channeling format, which was fine. It still is fine if anybody else is doing that. Now we're sharing what was always dreamed of, was always a potential, but hasn't really been realized except for a few human beings. And so here we are sharing the embodied relationship of having a human soul relationship. And in this relationship, the creator being known as Mikael or as Michael represents my eternal self. I am but one of the countless facets of Michael. Here on earth, I am one of those. And it's a gift to me to be able to have this relationship with him in such a personal and direct way. And as he has always said, it is a gift for him that I allow him to be here with me in this way. Over the years, Michael has shared many times that our non-physical counterparts would not be here if not for us. And that's always felt kind of special, very unique, but at the same time, none of us would be here if not for our eternal self. So a lot of gratitude for the gift that was shared, a gift of setting a part of this eternal self free so that all of us as fragments of our eternal self could also exist as sovereign creators of our own experience. So when Michael invited me to allow his presence to also serve me, well, as you might have guessed, and maybe some of you are experiencing this too, it took me a while to accept that. It took me a while to trust that. We're so conditioned as human beings to not allow ourselves to become the primary receiver of energy. in the human soul relationship, we go beyond these conditioned beliefs that we inherited and choose to have a more direct, a more intimate relationship with our soul. In fact, I'd be so bold to say we demand that, because it has to be something that becomes tangible for us to believe that it is real. And so this relationship that I share between me as Robert, the human, and my non-physical counterpart, Michael, is a relationship that is available to anyone. Not necessarily to Michael, but to your own eternal self. But unfortunately, very few human beings feel they are worthy or that they deserve this kind of connection. Those who look at me offering this think I'm just deluded, and so be it. It is what it is. There are really only two requirements. They're huge, but there really are only two requirements for this relationship to become real. Number one, Robert, or your human self, needs to take responsibility for how you want to feel. No matter what your circumstances might be, we have that choice. We already have that freedom. Of course, we're conditioned to believe that we don't. So that's a bold choice. It's a bold experience to know that we can actually determine for ourselves how we'd like to feel. It takes a lot of practice, and I'm speaking on behalf of me as Robert. I know I'm not the brightest bulb on the planet, so it's taken me perhaps a little longer than it would take any of you if you allowed this to be real. It takes a lot of practice to become more conscious of what is going on, not outside of us and reacting to that, but what is going on from the inside out. That's who we work with. That's who we have the honor to work with. And we've noticed that a lot of people want to skip this step. They just expect their own soul or eternal self to create for them. So it tends to reveal in this human soul relationship a lot of uncomfortable victim type of energies that we too inherited. The energetic presence of your own soul, when it comes into your life, it's going to enhance whatever state of consciousness you have chosen, consciously or unconsciously, for yourself. And so our role in helping all of you become conscious creators of your own experience is to help you become more aware of where these unconscious reactions to life interfere with having a clear conscious relationship with who you also are. Number two in these two steps, your human self will need to learn the art of allowing. And most of us grew up with the belief that allowing, which is really about being wide open, which feels to our human self very vulnerable, we've all been taught that that's not a safe place to be, because others could take advantage of you. Others could disrespect you, or you could even feel more the judgments that you feel from humanity around you. So I'm saying here that with a little practice, your soul slowly begins to reconnect with your body, mind, and your own human spirit. But we all know it takes years. It takes years. Michael has suggested that the most accelerated path in terms of having an embodied relationship with your own soul is about a decade. And, well, we've all been here countless lifetimes, so that's not to suggest that we're slow learners. It's to suggest that it's not easy. It's not easy to become conscious of what you're not conscious of. But when you do allow the presence of your soul, something big time shifts. You notice that its presence, the presence of your own soul nature, your eternal self, it now serves you as a new type of, well, inner support system. And this alone creates such a dramatic change in your life. Some would label it as being a quantum shift in your life. So, we invite any and all of you to explore our website. And if you'd like more information about deepening your connection with your soul, well, we don't teach this as a theory or as a concept, nor are our teachings based on faith. We only teach what we have experienced ourselves. And that's the agreement I made at the very start here, beginning with Archangel Michael, is that he would share anything through me as long as I too was willing to experience it as a human being, so that it would become tangible, it would become real. And that's where we are. That's where we are right now. So since our last stream, we've created a few upgrades to our studio. And now you've probably noticed we're using a virtual background in all of our live streams. And we did that because we wanted to move away from the kind of stale looking cloth background that we've been using for years. We attempted to enhance it using a variety of different lights, and we'd put dead or live plants around it. And yeah, that beautified it to a certain extent, but Koken and I have a true love affair going on in our relationship with nature, and we wanted to enhance that energy by bringing that presence into all of our live streams. And for many of us, this happens to be our last lifetime here on Earth. So we wanted to honor and celebrate nature in this way, to thank nature for the relationship that it offers to all of us. In so many ways, that's the hardest thing to let go of when it's time to say goodbye to this earth, is our relationship to the beauty of nature and to all those beautiful beings, non-physical in nature, that have been supporting nature in their own unique way. So let's take a deep breath there, as each of us feel into our own unique connection to this earth. Allow nature to continue to be of support to your own personal life. Enhance the beauty that you're discovering within yourself. Very good. So we have a few quick announcements before we'd like to turn this over to Michael. For some time now, it's been quite a few years now. Any of you that have read my 3 books know it's been a while since another book has come out. And Michael has been, let's just say he's been encouraging me to write just one more book. One that goes into detail about my own unique relationship with him and how that relationship has evolved over the years. Something that would help a lot of you that are working with that relationship right now. But from Michael's perspective, it's something that we would also be able to leave behind when my time here is done, to serve future generations that are going through perhaps their own unique awakening experience. So, time has passed, and years later, there's still no book. And I just have to say, I just don't find any joy in writing. You know, I thought 3 was pretty good, and it took a lot from me. I did it from a place of service. I'm happy to be of service in support of Michael. But after 3 books, I kind of said, I think that's it for me as far as writing goes. I don't really consider writing to be, I don't have much of a skill level behind that, and that's not going to help increase sales, but it's just it is what it is. I love, however, when you choose to be a conscious creator of your own experience, how life just seems to rearrange itself in service to our own passions. And I've witnessed that in relationship here to this request from Michael. So, of course, last year I received an invitation to participate in a video project with a global group of fellow masters and friends. And initially I was a little reluctant at first, and for a variety of reasons, but I also felt that if my participation could help in any way to support this project, then I would somewhat reluctantly be happy to do it. And so earlier this year, I realized I didn't really need to write another book. I could just create my own video project that could end up fulfilling Michael's request. And that gave birth to something new. That gave birth to the iSpirit project. And this is a beautiful new creation that I just have been working on. As you probably guessed, I'm no longer involved with the other project, but I wholeheartedly support all of my fellow masters, no matter what role I might be playing in their own creations. But the iSpirit project gives me the freedom to openly share my own unique relationship with Michael in a very personal, unfiltered, in a very direct way. Kind of what I enjoy doing as a sovereign creator. In my own video project, it won't be staged, nor will it be edited by a third party. And I don't have right now a completion date as yet, but I will, of course, keep all of you updated once I'm ready to release it. So this is something I do have a passion for, and this will end up being the book that Michael was hoping I would write. I'm in the process of starting to film it, and I'm looking forward to that developing, and then looking forward to sharing it with all of you. So let's take a breath there and celebrate and support each other as we create our own unique creations that are in service to a new relationship with life. As we move on to what we're doing here in the teachings of Michael are a variety of new classes. We've just released our 2019 schedule of these bi-monthly in-studio classes. So we invite you to feel free to visit the in-studio class page on our website, or you're also welcome to simply visit our calendar, and you'll find all of our upcoming events there too. But now you can participate in all of our live and recorded classes as a monthly subscriber. And this new format makes it much more affordable for a lot more people. As well, it gives everyone unlimited access to both the live class as well as all the recordings of the live classes. In the past, we asked you to pay a certain amount of money for each class, and then we gave you 90 days access, limited access to the recording. In this new structure, this new format, there are a couple requirements. It does require that you have participated to access or become a monthly subscriber in any one of our private sessions or programs or services, or that you are a member of the Masters Unplugged Facebook page. And that's where most of our participants of late are coming from. So feel free to check it out and see if that resonates with you. And finally, we have what has become kind of a tradition, even though traditions are not something that we speak a lot about here, of offering a special fall discount each year on all of our private sessions with Michael. So if you're feeling stuck, feel free to take advantage of these savings. All you have to do is visit our private session page on our website, and there you can select whatever version of a private session resonates with you. They come in an audio or video in a 20, 40, or a 60-minute time. Very good. So we're now accepting as well registration for the upcoming 2018 and 19 iSpirit 2 program. This is a 3-month course that begins on December the 7th, and it includes, which makes it pretty unique in terms of these kind of courses, 3 private sessions with Michael. If you'd like more details, feel free to visit our website. Simply go to the iSpirit page and check out to see if that resonates with you. As with all of our programs and services, we also provide a variety of online reviews to help you feel safe or inspired to participate as well. They're connected, a link to all of our pages, or we have our own page just for online reviews. Feel free to check that out. Let's take a deep breath here. As we now turn this over to my beloved friend, my non-physical counterpart, my beloved eternal self. And indeed, I am Michael. And dear ones, it can be this seamless. It can be this seamless in terms of having this kind of connection. We think Robert is incredibly courageous to offer such a relationship outside of the parameters of what has been known as channeling. Channeling, for the most part, is something that has, well, it's run its course. It's something that in a few years, less and less people will be relying on that kind of relationship. Why? Well, because of all of you. Because each and every one of you have asked for, have demanded, have invoked that this relationship become tangible, real, and embodied inside of your own physical body, so that there isn't the kind of separation that has been the norm for so long. At the beginning of all these kind of relationships or connections between a human being and soul, the consciousness on this planet was so dense, was so disconnected, that when a human being would allow us to come in, we would have to remove the human personality altogether, so as to provide a clearer message, an unfiltered message. This is new, where you can allow such a presence, your own presence, to come into your life, to come into your body in this unique way, and to trust that you too, without removing you, the human self, can participate in this quality of a relationship without the need of removing you, getting rid of you, or labeling you as some kind of interference. You see, this very relationship is not limited to your human experience. But because you're willing to have a human experience of what appears to be two complete opposites, you have the conditioned human being that has a variety of beliefs, primarily based in fear, that has you feeling disconnected from your own divine nature. And then you have your divine nature that has no conditions, has no fear. And from the human perspective, this relationship seems impossible because these involve two complete opposites. You've labeled them as being good and bad, right and wrong, light and dark. You've created in your human experience a very polarized relationship between the human and your soul. But as we have said to you, this also reflects a galactic story, a galactic dilemma. And so it is an honor for me to be of service to what is occurring here on earth at this time. This is not occurring on any other planet in the way that is occurring here. There is no other elevated star system throughout all of creation that is also experiencing what you're allowing here. We've grown tired of hearing all the stories from the human perspective of how Earth has been perceived to be some kind of penal colony for those that didn't behave on our side of the veil, where you're punished for something that you didn't get right. We present something very unique and new to that story, where Earth was created to help resolve a galactic dilemma, a galactic story, a galactic experience, to help resolve a polarized, dualistic reality. The only reality that all of creation has embraced as being real for the longest time. Until now. Oh, there have been individuals that have ascended from this planet because they too were able to transcend the polarization within themselves and allow the presence of their own soul nature to be present here. But it's never happened collectively. It has never happened collectively as it is happening right now with each of you. And so we are truly humbled by your courage to be on this planet at this time, while also not being a part of the state of consciousness that has resided within the human psyche for the longest time, a consciousness that is based in fear. It's a bold choice. Who would make such a choice? Well, you would. Those of you that are at the forefront of this change, you would. And why you? Why not others? Why does it end up being on your lap, on your shoulders, in your heart, in your mind, in your body? What does that say about all of you that are at the forefront of this change in consciousness? Who do you think you are, dear ones? What would have you feeling a little more qualified? It's because you do have the inherent courage to go where very few are willing to go. You have within you a degree of integrity that makes you a little bit special. You don't like to think of yourself in those ways, and we're not suggesting that you are any more special than any other being in all of creation, but you are kind of that. Because you're willing to make the bold choices. You're willing to go where no one else has gone before. Why? Because unlike so many other beings, for whatever reason, it brings you joy. And that is unique. It brings you joy to act as trailblazers. You like to go into the unknown without knowing the outcome, where so many others like going on the path that is already well trodden, because it feels safe, because there's a known outcome, because it's a little more predictable. You can pretty much count on what tomorrow will be if you follow a well-walked path, a path that has its own set of beliefs. And because of those set of beliefs, it has created for those who walk that path a sense of safety and well-being. That doesn't apply to any of you. In a way, you've been called many names. Some of you like the name Renegade Masters. So be it. Some of you would agree with us that you are very irreverent. You don't follow anybody else's truth just because others call it true. You don't even follow me, the master of truth, within the family of Michael. We resonate and are in service to truth. But we too had to adapt to what truth really meant and what it really means. We too began to see that truth is like a river. It's always flowing, and it's always changing. But within the truth, as a creator, as a conscious creator outside the safe parameters that your mind has created for you, or any other being, there is the divine presence. A presence that we have learned to trust, that allows us to explore this truth wearing a variety of different faces, identities. This bold choice that you make over and over again, you made here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have survived what you have survived living here on earth at this time. Because only a true master, someone with a deep sense of integrity, courage, and trust in himself, would ever consider consciously diving into this reality, knowing that there's a 99.9% probability that you would completely forget who you are. No wonder you felt so confused. No wonder you have always felt a little confused. No wonder you have always felt that you just don't fit in this world. You tried your best to adapt to the beliefs that all of humanity have adapted to, and even then, it wasn't a very good fit. You adapted to so many of these beliefs, whether they were personal or collective, whether they were political or social, religious or not, so that your human self could feel at least a degree of support, Because by being here on this planet at this time, like every other lifetime, you felt a disconnect from the truth of who you are. You felt a disconnect from your own divinity. And it was awkward. It was painful. Until now. So let's not mince words, shall we? Let's be even more direct. It's going to require from all of you who have chosen to allow the presence of your soul to actually be present, to now become the master of your own life, just as it is. The master of your own life, just as it is, requires you to do something really bold, to just accept your human identity just as it is. And that doesn't make much sense to all the beliefs that you inherited from your human family, because you kind of bought into that program that you need to improve this human identity in order to experience something better, something more fulfilling. But from our perspective, your future looks incredibly bright. For those who are at the forefront of this new state of consciousness, new to Earth, you're now becoming truly conscious creators of your own experience, because you are choosing to now live your life consciously. And our response to that is to bow before you and to thank you. Thank you. Thank you and thank you. Instead of spending most of your day simply tolerating your unfortunate circumstances, whether that be the pain that you feel in your physical body, whether that be the pain that you feel in your heart, because you never were loved the way that you wanted to be loved by the rest of humanity, whether that relates to your own biological family, your friends, your community, your country, all of humanity. Whether it be the pain that you feel in your own mind, who feels burdened with the responsibility of trying to figure this out, how to make that wounded heart feel a little more comfortable being wounded. And so it takes a true master to be willing to shift your attention from what has been going on outside of you to go within. And we know initially going within was awkward, was even more painful, because then you're feeling what you had spent most of your life putting in some dark closet. Now you're feeling the pain of those human interactions even deeper. Some of you spent a lot of time, a lot of resources going to different counselors, trying to resolve those human connections, those human relationships where you didn't feel loved, respected. And then when we asked of you to stop trying to create the improved version of your human self, stop trying to figure out Why am I feeling this way? Stop pointing fingers outside of yourself at those that did this to you. Go deeper inside. Because within you, within each and every one of you, there also has always existed your own divine presence, who loves you just as you are, without any conditions, whose radiance attracts to you all that you need to live a life that is fulfilling, who has its own heart that is not wounded, and has a divine mind that cooperates with the heart and doesn't need to be in control. In fact, enjoys being of service to the very heart of creation that resides within your own divinity. And so over this last decade, really, that we've been working with so many of you, you've begun to rely on more and more and more within yourself the wealth of wisdom and tangible support that does reside within you. And the timing is perfect, dear ones, because the sacredness of this cycle that you are now living in is about to take another turn. That doesn't provide good news for the majority of humanity, because the majority of humanity is not going to be able to really understand these rapid-fire advances in technology and the impact that's going to have on how you relate to your physical body, how you relate to your own life. The very energy that you invoked years ago, the very presence that you prayed for years ago, is now here. We liked Robert's two-step program there. Yes, it does require that your own humanity take responsibility for how it wants to feel. Because just elevating your own physical vitality, your own physical presence, just a little bit, makes it so much easier for you to actually feel the energetic presence of your own soul, your own divine nature. And this is why so many of your spiritual teachers are feeling a little overwhelmed by our own passion and joy. Because it would appear once again that what humanity disconnected from their soul is actually pursuing, creating with all these new technologies is the complete opposite of what most of you are most comfortable relating to. The technologies that humanity will be creating, or already creating, provides the human mind from the outside in more information that it's not finding inside of you, because it doesn't see or perceive the presence of your own divinity, because it doesn't believe it is there. And then there is all of you, whose hearts are wide open because you went through that whole awakening. You went through all that healing. For some of you, you still are, and that is fine. But because you relied or trusted more in your own heart and how you were feeling, that allowed you to also feel, not just using your five senses, but using all of your intuitive abilities, that there's a lot more going on inside of you than your mind is capable of seeing. And what does this do, dear ones? When you have a mental-based reality that's creating so many technologies that don't recognize the presence of the soul in the way that you feel it, and then there's you, who do feel it. That then creates what you have already experienced in what we talked about earlier, between the opposites of your own conditioned human nature and the unconditional presence of your own soul nature. Two complete opposites, but you've allowed them to coexist, one transcending the other. The same is true here from the outside in. Your presence here is vital in relationship to what humanity is playing with, and they are playing unconsciously with fire. This is such a rare and potent opportunity for all of you. And at the same time, for those of you who are at the forefront of this change of consciousness, now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, but now is the time to not only embrace your own soul nature, but to also embody it. And so we celebrate, even if Robert feels he's a slow learner, we know he likes to joke about himself. We see that as rather healthy. We celebrate this whole notion of creating his own video project. And we like how he wants to go about presenting this, allowing me to participate with him, because I won't give him permission to edit me. Indeed. And because of this, each of you making this bold choice to allow the embodiment of who you are to become real, our service to each of you now becomes a little more direct and a little more intense. Many of you speak of that in the iSpirit program, in our own courses and classes that we teach. Why? Well, because you asked us. Now, let's say that the way that you really presented it to us. You actually demanded from us that we share everything at our disposal to give you every opportunity to make this relationship with your soul physical, tangible, and real, embodied. So we've talked about allowing life to serve you. But when it actually starts to happen, it also stirs up a few human concerns. We've said this before, and we're going to say this now. Dear human self, it is not up to you to become enlightened. Your job in all of this Your role in all of this is to allow yourself to have a relationship, to be in relationship with a part of you that is already enlightened. Elevate your consciousness just a little bit by choosing to feel a little more better about your day. You can do that. And then allow the immense and unconditional presence, energetic presence of your soul to also be in your body with you. So many of you noticed firsthand, because you have allowed this, how your manifestation abilities have taken a quantum leap. That's why we asked Robert to place our last abundance workshop in the in-studio class library to make it available to any of you. If you need to be reminded, now is the time. Now is the time to trust this. Now is the time to allow it. This can be incredibly fulfilling if you're also clear about who you are. If you allow the doubts to choose for you. Well, those of you who are playing with that a little bit, you're already tasting that firsthand. Because allowing your doubts to choose for you, allowing your anxiety to choose for you, it can really hurt. It can really hurt. Not just physically. It's going to interfere with how you are not allowing now consciousness to be intimately involved with supporting you. Which asks of us, what can you do about that? It's time to let the family of humanity have the freedom in relationship with you it's been asking for every single lifetime you've been here. They asked of you to adapt to them every single lifetime. Because you're a pain in the rear end. Having that presence around makes it more difficult for them to, in their own unique way, to also pretend that they are not spirit also. Let them play that out as long as they want to play it out. There's nothing wrong with it. They have the right and the freedom to choose that experience. It's time for you to set them free. To stop feeling responsible for the choices they are making in their life. It's time to set humanity free, the family of humanity free, to be just what they are, so that you can be what you are. Living alongside them, not interfering with their choices, not dependent on their approval, and certainly not needing their love or their understanding. They don't know the love that you've allowed yourself to feel. They don't have the understanding that you have of the spiritual realms, the angelic realms, consciousness itself. Don't make it your problem by making them your problem. Let them go. Because by letting them go, you actually then are able to serve them. Those who want to know. And now's the time to embody what will be of service to this human family. Your own spirit. you have but a few more years before millions of human beings, a little different from the rest of you, will begin to question their own reality, will begin to ask the same questions you asked. But they'll be coming at this from a very different place than most of you. It will be a very mental place. It will take a lot for them to trust that it is in their best interest to go inside and to feel. And the only way that they're going to trust that that is trustworthy is if they have tangible evidence that it's real. They won't come to you, nor will they even trust your service if it's just but lip service. They need to see a living example. They need to see an embodied human soul relationship, identity, presence. That ends up being your next joy. If it is your joy, and it will be challenging. Because for most of you, you could just spend the rest of your days sitting by a lake, listening to the birds sing, feeling the sun caress your body, being blissed out by life. But they will find you, because your light will attract others to you. Or you'll have the choice: diminish your light so as not to be so attractive, but then you compromise the very relationship you work so hard to allow. And the part of you that allowed in likes being here too. Remember, it's fearless. Remember the part that you discovered far, far deeper inside of you than you thought you could go. Doesn't need to be supported by anybody else. It is already in a type of self-supported state of consciousness. And that relationship, as you take it out for a ride and let it participate in your day-to-day reality, it gives you a much deeper respect for your own soul's creative abilities. Let's take a deep breath there. We are at this place now that what you had wanted and hoped for most of your life and every single lifetime is now in your life. It's here. You are now. You're not becoming. You are now a creator of your own experience. And of course, the human self will declare, well, when did that happen? And it's okay. Accept your human self just as it is. As a creator, this is the time to be very clear about what thoughts and emotions you're willing to claim as your own. That doesn't mean you have to push away a variety of different thoughts and emotions. In fact, the clearer you get about allowing your own divine nature to be present, the more you're also trusting that its presence allows other disenfranchised parts of its own self would also like to experience a type of reunion in your own body. You're not there yet, that's fine. If you're there, that's why some days you're feeling some of these other energies playing inside of you, but they don't need to be at the forefront of what you're experiencing. It is always your creation. You are the sovereign creator of your own experience, willing joyfully to share tangible evidence, not just for the rest of humanity, but for all of creation. What you've allowed is real. And this relationship actually resolves the galactic dilemma. You can't play with these intense, dynamic, creative abilities and still be unconsciously processing or consciously processing all of these unresolved human emotions. Let's take another deep breath there. We are here now in support of you. We are but a breath away from being next to you. For so long, your human self felt we were so far away out in the stars. But you've allowed us to come this close, allowing who you end up becoming anyways to be with you now. And this, dear ones, is your ticket to your freedom. Even if it feels initially like you're just pretending, give who you have invoked a voice. For the longest time, your mind has been speaking on your behalf, most of your life pretending to be you. Let your mind hear the voice of your own spirit, the voice of your own soul. It needs to hear that. It needs to be reassured that who you are is real, who you are is present, and who you are is also willing to guide and support the mind, to teach it how to serve the heart. Now's the time, dear ones, to stop being the reactor and to truly become the conscious creator who creates whatever they want to experience inside their own energy. Such is the gift that you offer to yourself. Such is the gift that you're offering to all of life. All of my blessings, dear ones.